Hello students, this is Amardeep Singh, your computer teacher, and today we are going to continue with the same chapter, looping in Python. In this session we'll discuss about for loop and the syntax of for loop and how to use a range function with for loop. So first we'll discuss about for loop. In Python, for loop is basically used when we know how many times a specific set of statements should be executed. It is used to work with a range of values or traverse and manipulate each element of a sequence, including list, tuple, dictionary, set, or a string. But on the other hand, while loop is a condition-based loop. Next, we'll discuss about the syntax of for loop. Here we are having the syntax. For is a keyword to define a for loop, and this one is the loop variable. The name can be any, you can use any valid name of a variable here. In is also a keyword. After in keyword, you can specify name of a sequence or a range function. Sequence means it may be a list, tuple, dictionary, string, or a set. And range function is used to decide the start and end value of a loop variable. In this session, we'll discuss about range function and sequence tuple, dictionary, string, or set. All these will be discussed in next lectures. And next, statement block 1 will be executed repetitively depending on the range or on the elements available inside the sequence. Then next we are having else portion. This one is an optional portion of a for loop. Else portion will execute only when the loop will terminate normally. That means after the completion of this section, after the completion of a normal completion of a loop, the else section will execute once at the end of the loop. Next we'll discuss about range function. Range is a predefined functions of Python that decides the starting and end point of a loop with updation type and amount of updation. Updation type means it may be increment or decrement in the loop variable. So we are having two different overloaded forms of range function. First is range function with one parameter, that is endpoint, and next is range function with three parameters. First we'll decide the starting point, then endpoint and step statement. We'll discuss about these functions and the syntax of these functions in next slides. So here we are having first form of a range function with the one parameter, that is the endpoint of loop variable. It will run a loop starting from 0 to specified endpoint, and endpoint value will not be included in output. Updation will be increment by 1 by default. So here we are having an example. So if you will specify one parameter inside a range function, then it will run a loop starting from 0 and till this endpoint. So for example, for I in range 10. So if you will run this loop, then it will print the value of I. If you will print the value of I, then it will generate output starting from 0, that is the initial default initial value, to 9, that is 1 less than the specified endpoint, and the increment amount in I will be by 1. So let's start with an example how to use range function in for loop with one parameter only. So first we'll specify for, then name of loop variable. This name may be any a, b, c, d, x, y, or any name that you want to use. Then in is a keyword, then I'll specify a range. Then I'll specify 10, then colon print I. If you will print the value of I inside this loop, then the output will be the loop variable will initial value will be automatically assigned to this variable, that will be 0, and the end value will be 1 less than this value. So it will execute 10 times starting from uh, 0 to 9. So save it and press F5 to run. Now you can see the output is 0 to 9, increment by 1 in the value of I, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one is the default behavior of this range function with for loop when you will specify one parameter only. So that means while using range function with one parameter, then the loop variable will be start from 0, and the updation will be always increment, and the increment amount will be 1. So you can also change this value. So if I will specify 20, then this loop will execute 20 times starting from 0 to 19. So save it and press F5. Now you can see the loop, the starting value of loop variable is 0 and the end value of loop variable is 19. So that is all about how to use a range function with one parameter. And next we'll discuss about second form of range function with three parameters. First decide the starting value of loop variable, then endpoint of loop variable, and step statement decides the increment amount, and it can also change the type of updation, that may be increment or decrement. We'll discuss after this in this session also. So it will run a loop starting from given start value to the specified endpoint. So that means start and end point will decide the initial value of loop variable and the where the loop will stop, one less than that amount. And second thing, updation will be increment by 1 by default if we will not specify step statement, because it is an optional statement also in this uh, function. So if you will not specify step statement, then the updation amount and the type will be increment by 1. So the step statement is used to change the updation type and updation amount. If you will specify a negative value, it will perform decrement on the loop variable. So here we are having an example with two variable. First, if you will specify for I in range 3, 10, 3 will be the starting value, the initial value of loop variable. So the result will be, it will print 3 to 9, increment by 1, because we have not specified any step statement here, so it will increase the value of a loop variable by 1. So and next, if you will specify for loop with range function by specifying three parameters, then here we having example for I in range 10, 0 -1. -1 value indicates that we are going to run a loop in reverse order. So here we can also specify a positive value. If you will specify a positive value here in step statement, in a step parameter, then it will perform increment. If you will specify a negative value, then it will perform decrement operation. If you will specify 2, then it will increase the value of variable by 2. If you will specify -2 or -1, it will decrease the value of the loop variable according to this uh, value. So according to this these values 10, 0, then the loop will start from 10 to 1. That means uh, to 1 and decrement by 1 because we specify minus 1 here. So let's demonstrate how to use range function with three parameters: start, end, step statement. First we'll discuss and use only first two parameters. If you want to run a loop starting from 1 to 10, then you have to specify 1 comma 11. Then after saving run, now you can see the loop, the starting value of loop is 1 and end value was 10. So uh, if you want to change the increment amount also, by default the updation type and amount is increment by 1. So now I want to increment the value of loop variable by 2. Then I'll specify step parameter also. If you will specify 2, then that means the loop variable will increment by 2. Now the result is 1 plus 2, 3 plus 2, 5, 7 and 9. And if I'll specify 3, then it will increase the value of loop variable by 3. So that is the use of this step statement. If you will specify a positive value here, then the updation amount will be changed according to this specified value. Then next we can also specify a negative value here. Negative value is used when you want to run a loop in reverse order. Let's suppose if I want to run a loop starting from 10 to 1. 10 to 1 means you have to specify 0. But if you will run a loop in reverse order, then you have to specify a larger value here and smaller value after that as the second parameter, and here you have to specify a negative value. Negative value indicates that the loop variable will be decrement by 1. So now you can see the starting value of loop variable is 10 and loop end value is 1. You can also specify any other value like minus 2. Minus 2 means it will decrement the value of loop variable by 2. So now you can see 10, 8, 6, 2, 4, 2. So that is all about this range function with three parameters. That means first two parameters decide the starting and end point, and step statement or you can say step parameter is used to change the updation type and amount. Updation type means increment or decrement, and amount means that may be 1, 2, 3 or any other value. So that is all about these three parameters. So uh, that is all about the range function and how to use the range function in for loop. And if you people are having any kind of doubt related to these